Hey y'all, thanks for joining Coding with Jess. I just realized that when I clicked the button in my Streamlabs file that it did not actually start the stream. So even though it said I was live here, it was not actually live in YouTube Studio. So this might be, not exactly sure what's going on there. It might be the first time that you're joining and seeing this, or you might have been listening to me talk for the last 30 minutes. Hopefully you were here, and yeah, we'll find out. Okay, so in the middle of what we were working on, for those of you who may just be joining, we were working on going through the process of pushing out a new note from my Bear app out to the web. And so we are in the middle of that and gonna keep going. All right, so I now pushed a pull request up here, and now I'm waiting for, now that the pull request is available, I'm waiting for Netlify to build a preview version of this. So I'm actually not seeing that in the PR. Normally there's like a list of things. Add article and knowledge work. Huh. All right, let's go over to Netlify and see what's going on. All right, I'm going to go for 5 more minutes, and then we'll pause here. And again, I apologize if you guys are just joining right now. I had gone live, but apparently I hadn't clicked the button in the YouTube UI, which is absolutely tragic. All right, let's see. So here's Netlify. Log in. Again, I don't normally, I've seen, let me look at past PRs even, and there'll probably be an example of what I'm talking about here. So here's the user guide. Yeah, right here. Interesting. So not seeing that. Deploys. Knowledge work. So here it is. It's just not loading into GitHub. Huh. Interesting. So that might be a bug right now in either Netlify or GitHub that's not showing this block that you usually get. Anyway. All right. The good thing is I can actually come through and demo this. So here we go. Here's Research Notebook, how to measure knowledge work. There we go. So that is pretty much the whole process. Oh, actually, that's not the whole process, because now that I'm up, that's my staging version. So now that I've checked it out and said it looks good, actually, let's read it. Actually, knowledge work can't be measured in hours. Varies 100x. Each work you begin. All right, cool. That looks good to me. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Merge PR. Okay, so that will automatically deploy, thanks to the magic of Netlify, that will automatically deploy and update my jessmart.in. Okay, so what did we just experience? We went through this whole process, and it took us about 8 minutes to go from writing something to having it published. So not a great result, in my opinion, in terms of like how frictionless this feels. So remember, our goal is to actually build a frictionless writing system that helps me fast to capture and publish. So what we should probably do, I'm going to take a 5-minute break. Been going for about 25 minutes now. Take a 5-minute break, and then at the next Pomodoro, what we probably need to do is look at the different parts of the system and decide where we want to optimize, where do we spend most of our time, that would allow us to have a lower friction publishing solution. All right, so I will see y'all in 5 minutes, the end of this Pomodoro break. All right. So we are back from our Pomodoro. So I'm going to go ahead and start the next Pomodoro, and we're going to start talking about what do we want to make better with our remaining 3 Pomodoros here. Okay, so like we talked about in the beginning, we are trying to build a tool that will accelerate my learning and optionally will allow engagement with my ideas, and that is a writing system that is low friction and allows me to link one idea to another. So I think in terms of making it low friction, I think the thing that I could probably do that would speed things up. So my initial idea on this, if you've watched the previous 2 live streams, was to actually have this be deployed and running in a GitHub Actions in the cloud, so that I could basically upload a new copy of the Bear SQLite database, and then that would just click do everything. And by click do everything, it would read the SQLite database, get the notes from it, create markdown files, add those markdown files to my Gatsby blog site or Gatsby site in the appropriate directory, open a PR, and then all I would have to do would be check the deploy preview from Netlify, make sure that like the note looks okay, and then hit merge. So it would literally be a 3-step process of fire off the command that uploads the new database, that triggers everything, look at the deploy preview, merge, and then I think that would be a pretty sweet process to be able to go through. So ran into some issues around getting that fully operational. So I think in short of having that be fully operational, I could have it work such that all I have to do on my machine is run a simple script. So that would be something along the lines of, you can imagine coming in here and saying, publish new articles or whatever, and have that bash script actually run the Bear script, grab the new files, put them in a branch, put them in a new branch in GitHub. So yeah, how might I do that? So this could be just a bash script that executes all of those things one after the other, like boom, 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 goes through and actually executes the commands. So basically the steps that we went through just now, where it copies the SQLite database, runs the Ruby SQLite to MD, copies the file to the right place, checks out, opens a branch, and then adds that file, pushes the branch to GitHub, and then finally opens the create new PR from that branch. Is that how we would actually want to do it though? So like, if I set up a bash script to do this, 1, it's brittle. 2, I have to write bash. I don't actually have to write bash. I could write it in Ruby or something like that and have it be run from bash. But it's basically taking it, making it more manual. Well, it's making it more automated, but automated on my machine instead of like purely automated. I don't know. I could kind of see both ways. The other challenge that we have, if we're going to do that, let's say we're going to build a bash script that does it. Right now, the way the Ruby script is structured, it actually it creates new files for every article that's marked published. So one of the things we never implemented was this, which is get only notes that were updated after the last time this ran, or get every note every time. So right now it gets every note every time, not every note, but every note with the right title every time. So we would need to either do some kind of time stamping. So in the world that I had imagined, how would we know? Okay, this is a good question actually. How do we know which articles have already been published? You know what? That's what we should work on. All right, so now there's enough going on in my head right now around this project that I need some way to like contain all my ideas. So just for now, since it's super lightweight, I'm going to start a GitHub project on the Bear SQLite. Actually, no, we're going to start it on my personal site. Projects, create a project, and this will be writing, workflow, to do. Move pull requests here. Ugh. I just want to add a column. Never mind. To do. In progress. All right, let's do this. All right, plus. So this is going to be a couple things. So we want to basically make note markdown generation idempotent is one thing. And is there any way I can like convert this to an issue? Yes, I can. Good, I'll do that in a minute. So we want to make markdown generation idempotent, markdown note generation idempotent. Another thing we want to do is write a script to a bash script to extract new notes to automate branch with new note creation. Or I'll just say automate the creation of a branch with new notes in it, updated notes in it. All right, and then once I have those two things done, then I don't need to worry about generating only new. Do I want to delete all bear tags from the text? Probably not as important, but I'll list it down here anyway as an idea, and we can just do it later. There's one other thing that is super important too, which is support bear crosslinks, or like maybe translate bear crosslinks into into HTML links. That one actually would be pretty easy. Okay, so let's write about this one first. Convert to an issue. Currently, the bear to markdown generator creates markdown notes that have to be tweaked just slightly in order to be published to the site. We need to be able to trust the bear to MD generator to generate notes in their final form and directly create pull requests with those notes. Actually, I don't want to say ender. That implies that I'm going to actually do that as part of this task, which I'm not. So we'll just say convert to issue. All right, cool. that's what we want to work on. I'll assign myself to it. Good old GitHub projects. All right, so that's what we're going to do now. Let's focus in on that then. Okay, so the way that what we need to do right now probably is evaluate where we're at in terms of our current notes that we have. So I've just run the generate file. We didn't have to create too much about how to measure, except we removed the tag there. But I want to look at some of these other files, and basically maybe what I'll do is copy them all in and then see what the differences are. That might be a good place to know, all right, this is what's different between what did I have to change, and then we can figure out what we need to change in our script for that purpose. So again, I've got this directory called Markdown Pages, and you can see it's got 8 notes in it. And what I'm going to do is copy. This makes me a little nervous. Think Week 2020 reflections. That's okay. It's Git. You can undo anything. Okay, so I don't know why I'm nervous about this, but I feel like I've made changes here that I don't want to lose. But it's all stored in Git. Normally would trust Git fully here to save my butt, but for some reason, yeah, it's interesting. All right, so what we're going to do is copy all the files that were generated, star.md, with the exception of README. Well, I'll just delete README after I get it all copied over here. All right, copy all of those things to source Markdown Pages, and then we'll do a git status. Sure enough, there's source Markdown Pages README. It needs to get removed because that's the README for the Bear SQL progress. Okay, and so almost everything has differences in it, and then there's a few files that are new because the names of the files changed. Okay, so one of the problems we have with our system is that I can change the name of the file. If I change this, for example, how to measure knowledge works, it's going to generate a different file name, which then when I copy it in is going to cause a problem. So let's go to our note. Now that we have a GitHub issue here, we can start taking notes about some of the problems. I'll just put it down here in a comment. Okay. Problems. So if I'm gonna make these to-do lists. When the note title is changed and it's loosely title, it's the first line in Bear, it generates a different file name for the note in the personal site. So file names need to be note consistent in spite of changing titles. I actually have an idea of how to do this, so doesn't actually concern me that much, and it's actually something I've wanted to do because it's related to a separate thing, which, geez, now that I'm going through this, there's a lot of little changes that I've thought about this week that I really haven't done a good job of documenting. So I'm glad we're chatting about it right now. But I want to make links into permalinks. Even when titles of notes change. I have an idea for how to do that, actually inspired by another digital garden type thing that I saw this past week. So we can do that. So observe differences when the note title is changed in Bear. It's also, by the way, what I just wrote down is slightly different from what I'm just now describing of changing the title. We'll need to do this in order to have permalinks, but that's not all we have to do in order to have permalinks. Do a little bit more. All right, we can do that. When the note title is changed in Bear, it generates a different file name. So that accounts for these two changes, Douglas Engelbart and reflections on Think Week. Let's go look at some of these other changes. So I'm going to say git diff source Markdown Pages real time. So show me the diff. The diff here is date. Interesting. So I made some changes to this file, which kudos to Bear. It picked up the changes, or kudos to the script. It picked up the changes and it properly noted or updated the updated at state. So where does this come from? Why does this matter? Here's the research notebook. Here's the updated date. And what I'd love to be able to do is, what is this one? Real-time collaborative systems. You should be able to see like a last updated at the top of each note. That should basically give me an idea of how old a note is when I was last working on it. Interestingly, there are 2 images at the bottom of this note. So let's actually go over to Bear and see what's going on there. Whoops. All right, real-time. So this one is real-time collaborative systems. Aha! There is new images down here. So, interesting. Yep. So I had done a little bit of sketching about an idea for a virtual bookshop. So I probably need to move those to a different note. So yeah, the note had changed appropriately. So all that changed was the updated at, which is good because it was updated, and the images here. Oh, and then also the tags, right? So this is what I was saying. I think for now what we're going to do is not implement this change here of deleting all tags, Bear tags from the text of the article. I'm just going to leave them. It'll be fine. Not a big deal. And something. Oh, that reminds me. This is a great point. So I think these images belong in a different note. I'm going to take them out of here, move them to a different note. The other thing is we need to be able to handle images, though. So that's something else I'll list here. Is support images in a note. I don't actually know how to solve that problem. Well, I've got some ideas, but actually I do know how to solve the problem. Now that I said that, the idea just came to me. It's actually pretty easy using the, because the, well, anyway, I think I know how to solve that problem. We're not going to solve it today. This is, yeah, I kind of nerd sniped myself there. How would I solve this problem? Oh, I know how to solve the problem. Do I know how to solve the problem? Now I want to go look. Not the most important thing. It's not what we're working on. We're working on making Markdown note generation idempotent. So what are some of the things when the note title is changed? That's a serious problem because it creates a new file. That's we do not want to do. We want them to match up. All of these other changes in here, in this file in particular, are appropriate changes. Those are good. So one thing I want to do though is I'm going to make sure to clean up my note system here, and this I'm going to call this a what did I just say? It was called Virtual Bookshop, I think. Virtual Bookshop browsing. Visiting a virtual bookshop. There we go. All right, now I'm going to take these 3 things from my personal notes and copy them into here. And I also tweeted about this, so I'll probably link to the tweet, but I'm not going to do it right now. And some people had some really interesting, I think this is a fascinating idea, by the way. I would love to build this, but maybe that is another day. Okay, so let's go through, so everything else in this real-time collaborative systems, let's go ahead and run the script again and see what happens in terms of generating. Oh, wait, got to copy the file first. Oh, wait. Copy the database over, run the script. Control R is my friend Ruby. Run the script, copy, and this time we'll just copy real-time collaborative systems to source Markdown, and now I want to do a status again, or a diff again. Great. Whoa. Confused. Did I accidentally copy the... Or did I accidentally delete the tags? Notice there's no tags here. Oh, snap. Let me think. Okay. I did do something around that in here. Notice the update date has now moved to 7:30, which is actually appropriate. That's it. Cool. So one thing I do, I already do this for one-line tags. So I'm just going to make a note here. Convert this to an issue. Nope, this is the wrong one. Where is it? Convert to issue. Already supported if a tag, if the last line starts with a tag. Does not support stripping tags from the middle of a note. And the code that does that, just so we can look at a little bit of code here, is right here. Oh no! I always strip the last line. Well, the last line won't necessarily have a tag on it. That's crazy. Supported. So it doesn't even check. It just strips the last line. Interesting. Doesn't even check to see what the last line is. Facepalm. That's a little bit scary. All right, convert to issue. Yeah, but we're not going to work on that right now. Okay, so, but good to note, coming across that. So real-time collaborative systems looks good. Let's look at the next diff here. So it'd be computing and education. Get diff, sarks down, markdown files, computing and education. Just adds the tag, that's fine. We're good with that. What about the next one? High performance. Whoa, lots of diffs here. It looks like Right, this is the one that I changed the... I made a lot of changes to this one. So this is simply a matter of... This one is suffering from the two problems we've already noted. When the note title changes, it generates a different file name, and then also the images are not being handled correctly, are not supported. I have like a manual workaround for working with images. And we need to actually support them properly, but that's already documented here. So no need to do that. And we've already documented the title change here. That's fine too. You know, we may end up being really close here to what we want. Like it may not be that much further that we have to go to make an idempotent. All right, here's this one's just a tag difference. We're fine with that too. Markdown pages. What about on thinking software and ideas? Interesting. Okay, let me... Okay, so these changes, you'll notice that there's some missing lines. Missing line there, missing line here, missing line here. And then a missing space maybe. I'm not sure what that's demonstrating here. What I think is going on with this one is when I first started working with this, I had a prettier formatter for Markdown files installed in VS Code. And that was that when I pulled them in and I would save them, those files, then they would get actually updated to having a different format, which I didn't actually want. Okay, cool. Well, that is by the way, I've disabled prettier for Markdown. You'll actually see a big X down here, prettier X, that I've disabled it for this particular type of file. And that has been helpful because it doesn't reformat. I want to trust the formatting that I get out of Bear instead of reformatting it using prettier, even though it might be easier to read, because reformatting it then creates these spurious diffs, which we don't like. Okay, and then the last one is reflections. I would have thought reflections would have already been in here. Oh, okay. This is the one where it created a new file. Since I've already, all right, we're gonna move to, okay. So again, we've already documented that that's a problem. Pomodoro says it is time for break. So I'm gonna take a 5-minute break, and when we come back, we're gonna tackle the challenge of creating a consistent file name for our Bear notes as they're being pulled out of Bear, so that we don't, so that we can change the title of a note and not change the file name. So we'll be right back and get to that right after the break. See you guys in 5 minutes. All right, all right, all right. We are back. And oh, I forgot to start the start break. Start tomato. Cool. Ready to start our next Pomodoro and knock out the thing. So, summarize where we were at the end of our last one. The only observed difference or problem that we noticed was when the note title is changed in Bear, it generates a different file name for the note in our personal site. So file names need to be consistent in spite of changing titles. We also noticed a couple things that we've documented under our project here that'll allow us to go through and tackle some of those things. We can go get to those later, but let's see if we can get this consistent file name thing done. And if we can, then I'd love to see if we can tackle crosslinks, because crosslinks is actually related to our approach to consistent files. So let's talk about that. So one way that I learned about this week is I found a website by a guy named Andy Mutashik. I don't know how to say his name, or Matushak. I don't know. At some point I should probably learn how to say his name, but he has a really cool little notes section, and that is similar to what I'm trying to build. And it looks like, based on a screenshot that I looked at on his blog, or no, on his Twitter, I think, that he's actually using Bear as his writing system. And then if you note, as you click on any one of these links, you'll note that there's something pretty funny here, which is this really long alphanumeric identifier for each one of these notes. I'm pretty sure, we're going to go look in just a second, but I'm pretty sure that comes from Bear. In any case, whether it comes from Bear or not, every note in Bear does have a unique identifier that stays consistent regardless of title. How do I know that? Well, I've tested things out in Bear that are around crosslinking, and Bear had to implement that in order to implement crosslinking. So, for example, how to measure knowledge works, how knowledge works. I can actually come in here and say, this is related to thinking tools. That creates a deep link to the thinking tools note. Now, if I come over to thinking tools and I'd say thinking tools I'm interested in, and then go back to how to knowledge works, you'll notice that the title has updated. And that's because this link is actually, and if I expand it, let me see if it'll give me the expansion here. Whoop. I wish command, I can remap that. That's what I should totally do. I'm gonna make a note to myself to do that. Where my pen at? I'm going to remap back in Bear to command bracket. That will help my usability of Bear tremendously. Always be customizing your setup, y'all. All right, so if you look at this hover over, which I don't know that it'll let me expand it. What happens if I do copy link and just paste it in? Yeah, you've got this callback open note, and then there is a callback URL. That's the title. I expected there to be an identifier in here. That's kind of fascinating. I wonder how that is clearly not the way that they've actually implemented it under the hood. I wonder if you can use, anyway. So let's go to SQLite and open database.sql, which is the file that we get from Bear. Yep. And let's go look in the ZSF note table. That's where all of our notes are stored. You'll notice that there's a ZPK, but there's also a couple other things. So this is structure. Let's go to browse data in the ZSF note table. And there's a lot of stuff in here. So let me make this. Unfortunately, I can't make the size of this UI any bigger, but so you'll kind of have to trust me. I know that this is going to be really small on your screen. So the ZPK primary key for the note is just an integer that's auto incrementing. But there is also another thing in here. There's creation date, modification date, last editing device. That's kind of cool. I could like, not that I care to, but I could differentiate between, anyway, that's kind of cool. Okay, and then we have this, Z unique identifier. Z unique identifier. So the Z unique identifier, now that I'm looking at these, that is probably not what he's using here. Although maybe he is. I don't know. But I need a unique identifier. Maybe he's lowercasing it and like taking out all the dashes, and maybe then it's the exact same length. Kind of doubt it, because it's got that 00 string in there that looks relatively consistent across all these notes. All right, so maybe he's not using interesting. Huh. I'm just kind of like looking at the pattern that these different unique identifiers seem to follow. Not sure why it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 characters, then a dash, 4 characters, then a dash, 4 characters, then a dash, 4 characters, then a dash, then looks like maybe 10 to 12 characters, then a dash, then 5 characters, then a dash, then some other number of characters. Like, I don't know if they're like trying to, if they're actually encoding something in those. They must be. They must be. Because there's 48412 for 3 different notes. The odds that you would randomly get that is pretty rare. Interesting. Okay, so that is what I think we're going to be able to use here to create a consistent file name, is actually use this as the part of the file name, and then, or use this as the file name, and then we can know that that does not change. At least I don't think it changes. Let me do a quick Google search on that and see if there's anything about Z unique identifier. BearApp. ID optional. Okay, there's an ID. It's really short. Like, how do... I'm confused. So is that 8 digits? It is. So what if I do this? What if I try to open one of these notes based on the first 8 digits there? Maybe we can only use the first 8, or maybe we only have to use the first 8 digits. So what I'm going to do is I expect this to try and open a note called properties of a new system. Open, open. Nope. Okay. Very strange. So then what in the world opens a note by the unique identifier? That is clearly the unique identifier. A little confused here. Let's check out another one of these just to see why that might not have worked. Home projects. Hopefully this will open home projects. Open? No. Not changing anything at all. So I don't see any other... Is there another metadata or anything about notes? change item, external changes, folders, internal changes, location. The note files has all of the files. We're going to actually want to use that when we get around to note server data. When we get around to supporting images, we're going to need that. There's the note tags table. It's a join table between tags and notes. Password, server metadata, static note, to do. What if, is there a copy identifier here? Let's see. Never seen it in the UI, and I've spent a lot of time in the UI, but it's possible they have it buried. Okay, it's not in there. Copy notes identifier. Okay, so how to measure knowledge works has this identifier. Oof, it's the whole thing. Okay, so for whatever reason, those examples in the notes, in the docs are truncated. Those are not the whole identifiers. So now if I come here and copy this, the full identifier, and don't try to truncate it, then I get, yep, there we go. Then I get the full thing. And this is, those are the rule. Those are the players in the game. A game that I can't remember, Clue or something like that. Coup characters. All right. Okay, so let's go to work/notes. Okay, so we do have a unique identifier. It's really flipping long. We could potentially truncate it to the first. Okay, so let's separate the problems and solve them one at a time. So my problem is my brain is like trying to mash two problems. I want links to be permanent links. I also want crosslinks working. But right now we need to solve for the problem of making the file names the same when we generate it. So I'm going to solve for that problem first, and then we will, after we've solved that problem, then I'll look at how to do crosslinks. I feel like we should maybe look at all three of these together, though. This is where I'm debating, because it would be nice to just solve one at a time. The obvious solution for the file name is I just make the file name this or some truncated version of this .md in our, but then I leave the front matter the same. And so that'll, what that will do, whoops, here we go, is it'll look something like this. In our Jess Martin Gatsby, you'll have the Markdown Pages folder. All of these file names will then be very long unique identifiers, or truncated either way. But the front matter will actually have the actual title of the article and the slug is that, and the slug will be, and the slug is where the problem is. Interesting. So one of the things that Andy definitely chose to do with his site is to deep link into any one of these notes. You actually need the you deep link into it by the identifier, not by the title of the note. And so the URLs are not very descriptive, which I don't love. But it does solve the problem. It is one nice, clean solution that solves all three problems. So just to restate what I just said in maybe simpler terms, if we make the slug the unique identifier as well, so it'd be like articles / this thing, we'd have a really ugly URL, but it would always remain consistent no matter how much we alter the name of the name of the title, or the title of the blog. So one thing we could do as well is we could write an advanced router. This is Gatsby, right? So I can control the routing. So I could write a router, and I can't remember what the router file is called in this thing. Yeah, Brent notes in the chat regarding URLs not being descriptive. Notion has an interesting solution to that. Each URL has a readable slug and a unique identifier at the end. The UUID is what you use to resolve the link. Exactly. So I think that's what I'm going to end up doing, Brent. And I was actually thinking of Notion's usage of this as well. So to give a demonstration real quick for those of you who may not be familiar, here is Notion. Here's some, and then you can see there they've got the description of the URL up front. And then the last thing is the identifier. And this is what they actually use to route. And then you can change the name of this for Rails. And you'll notice, oh, wow, they rewrite the URL on the fly. I don't know if you guys saw that, but the URL was changing as I was typing. And that's appropriate, right? Because if I copy a link, I want it to have the new title in it. Although what I could do is I could do this garbage with the and you'll notice that it resolved to the right place, right? Because it doesn't care what this is as long as the unique identifier is there. So yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out, Brent, because the way I remembered it, I remembered the unique identifier, and the way I was thinking about implementing it is I was thinking about putting the unique identifier at the beginning. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and adopt the get it working approach of just get it working with terrible UUID URLs, and then we'll make URLs descriptive next. So let's do that. Let's just like add another description, make URLs meaningful. All right, that's something we'll do later. And I'm going to move that down. I want to make permanent links work and crosslinks work first. And then I can probably want to automate the bash script creation first as well. Let me go ahead and, can I make this into an issue? Just to remember what we just discussed, so I don't have to use my brain to remember it. Use the Notion approach of some title dash UUID, where UUID is the only thing that is used to resolve the note, the URL. This frees us up to change the title of the note at any time. Anytime. There we go. Okay, cool. Converting that to an issue. Back to what we were working on: Markdown, note generation. So we're gonna solve this via a simple UUID URLs. I don't know that those are truly UUIDs. Fix the will make URLs meaningful later. This is a note to my future self. Yes, I'm only working on this project with myself, but these kind of notes are really helpful, especially when you don't work on something day in, day out. Being able to like jump into an issue and see what you had to say about it is really, really helpful. Okay, so over here, let's see if we can get that done. How much time do we have left on our Pomodoro? We've got 5.5 minutes. I think we can, because I pretty much already know what the code looks like. So here we are in our Bear SQLite to MD. I really wish I already had an automated unit test around this file. We're going to need to write one eventually. But what we're going to have to add here is a new selection from the SQLite database. And the field that we want to select is called Z unique identifier. Z unique identifier. Let's see. And there's no way to copy that out of here, is there? I could probably go to database structure maybe, and nope, I don't like that. Not gonna let me copy it. Just don't want to mistype it, but that's okay. We will go ahead and do that. ZSF note, and it is Z unique identifier. Identifier. Okay, and then that is note UUID will be our thing that we call it. Doesn't affect our join at all. And now down here in the slug, instead of using the title, we are going to change it to use note UUID. Okay, let's look at, before we run it and see what that does, let's make sure that, oh, the other thing we wanted to do, right, was we need to make it sure that the file name doesn't change based on the UUID as well, or based on the title changing. So we also want to use this as our file name, which that will be here. Oh, looks like that will already be taken care of because we're using title slug right here in the file name when we file write these out. Okay, so I'm going to save this, run the Ruby file, and we should see a whole different set of Markdown files that get generated here. Man, I wish I knew how to remove just all Markdown files with the exception of a single Markdown file. I'm going to look it up real quick. Remove RM files wildcard except exclude. Ooh, here we go. Ugh, too complicated. In ZSH, you can use the negate pattern with the extended glob. Huh. Looks like that would I could probably figure it out if I spent a few minutes. Delete all files in a directory. I don't want to delete all files in a directory. With the exception. Other than zip files, delete all files apart from zip. Anyway, I could probably figure it out, but I'm not going to do that just yet. Something to go look and do later. All right, let's run this thing. Let's do this thing. I am going to do remove star.md, and then I'm going to say get checkout readme.md. All right, let's go ahead and check out a branch. Make file names. UUID file names is what we'll call this branch. And let's go ahead and run this thing. Control R, Ruby, SQLite-md, get status, and there we go. A bunch of really ugly file names. Should there be 6? I think there should be more. Let me check that out. Let's see. That would be in my bear. I need to look for things with publish in it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. There are indeed 6. So yeah, it looks like we generated the right things. Let's go look at those files, manually inspect those real quick, make sure they look sensible. Articles/terrible URL, has the right title, everything else looks good. Okay, so it looks like we've successfully upgraded our UUID file names. So let me. Oh shoot! I don't want to do that. Git reset dot git add SQLite-md. Don't want to check all those files in. Git commit. And the changes that we want to make, actually, whoa, There we go. The changes I want to make that we made are make name files. Oh, shoot. I just hit the button here. All right, we're at the end of our Pomodoro. Let me finish this up, and then we'll come back. And in our last Pomodoro, I have one more task that I think we can knock out today, which is awesome. Name files according to UUID. Links according to UUID. All right, cool. Get push origin, UUID file names. I got that branch up there. Flamtastic. All right, so the next thing we do when we get back, I'm going to take a quick break here, hit start break. When we get back, we will take on a simple change. I think we might have completed this, making Markdown note idempotent, but we can also take on translating bare crosslinks into HTML links, pretty sure, maybe, and making links into permalinks that don't change. We just did that, making links into permalinks that don't change even when title of note changes. So we've got that pretty much done, and we might be able to take this on, taking down crosslinks. All right, I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be back in less than 5 minutes, and we will wrap up this last Pomodoro of the day. See y'all shortly. Alrighty, we are back. Pomodoro break is over and we are ready to kick up our last Pomodoro of the day. So again, like I mentioned, we're going to focus on one change that I'd like to... So we already have these other two things working. We've got Markdown note generation as idempotent, and we now have links that are permalinks that won't change even when the titles of notes change. So I'm going to go fix up... I'll go drop all those updated notes into GatsbyJS later, and you'll see those get updated on my my actual site with some horrendous looking URLs. And then what I want to work on the rest of the time is see if we can actually get Bear crosslinks into HTML links. So you might remember me talking at the beginning about the attributes that I wanted of the system. I want to make sure that I can make interconnections and see idea intersections and link one note to one another in a very low friction way. Currently, I don't get that for free out of the box with my setup, because even though Bear allows me to do that, allows me to like build crosslinks that I can use in Bear, when those get translated over to Markdown, it's not a true HTML link between those two things. So let's go see an example. What am I talking about? So in Bear, here are our published notes. Let's just like limit to published. And we want to show the way that we can link between things. So this is not a published note, so I'm going to take that one out real quick. How to measure, let's see, what are two things that we might actually want to link between? Computing and education. All right, here we go. Here's an example that we can follow. We could say... or reflections on ThinkWeek, thinking software and ideas. All right, I think I know where to put a link here. So, computing pioneers, we'll put that there, and then make it a bulleted list, and we'll link to Douglas. Oh, that was nice. I hadn't seen that. I haven't done a whole lot of linking in between things apparently, because I hadn't seen that autocomplete. It's pretty cool. All right, so now what I want to do is copy our new database over, run the Ruby script, and then I want to look at this particular article, which annoyingly with our new file names is very difficult to do. So let's see, which one is this? On thinking software and ideas? Nope. Realtime? Nope. How to measure? Nope. There it is, computing education. All right. Doggone it. That's what I was worried about. All right, so the way that Bear chose to handle in the export is that is so weird though. So this is the way that link is represented, which does not help us at all. I wonder if it's possible to link this way. This is definitely less cool, and will make it harder for me to add links in my own system. Huh. So that doesn't work either. That tries to take me to a URL. Bear export. This might actually turn out to be harder than I thought, y'all. So the one thing I could use... So that's cross-linking into Bear. Yeah, so the problem here is that in my note here, I've linked to Douglas Engelbart. How does it know? I'm so confused. I don't understand how it keeps a reference to this link. I don't understand how it keeps a reference to this link that is continually updated when there's like no other data about the link at all. Copy as HTML. I wonder what that does. It makes it a deep link into the Bear app. Does this thing have an ID in it? Yeah, see, you can open Bear notes by title, and so that doesn't really help us that much. Oh, I know how to solve this. I know how to solve this, and it's much more painful than it should be. Okay. Okay. Shoot. It's not going to be too bad, but it is annoying. But the nice thing is, it once we've implemented it, it's kind of foolproof. Like there's no way this fails. Yes. So I'm guessing there's a Z title of Douglas Engelbart in here. That's an edit of a cell. So anyway, I can write. Okay, I think I know how to do it. So let me write the pseudocode, and we can talk about how this is going to work. So over here to our Bear SQLite to MD, pull up our script. All right, write out the front matter is one thing. Sigh. This is going to be annoying. Convert crosslinks to real crosslinks. I guess it's two, what's it called, relative URLs. That's what we're gonna have to do. So here's how this is gonna work. First thing is we're gonna have to find all instances of these double bracketed markdown links in the file. Replace them with, or no, extract the title from the markdown link. I'll just call these crosslinks because that's kind of, I don't know if that's the domain language of Bear, but we'll call them that for now. Extract the title from the crosslinks, query the database for the UUID. What's it actually called? The Z unique identifier. For the note matching that title. Well, you know what? This is good because it's getting into the more complex. This is going to make things a little bit more complex. We're going to actually want to do a little work on this file, on this file to make it a little bit better engineered. Right now, it's pretty poorly organized, and we can definitely improve that. And this is going to drive us to make those improvements. Once we get down in here, this method becomes more complicated than I would like it to be. All right, query the database for the Z unique identifier, and then reformat the link to be title UUID, and it'll be articles/UUID, so that it's actually a permanent link to the right place. Replace the link with. Okay, so that's the process we've got to go through. Let's see how far we can get today. So we'll start off by finding all. Okay, so the question is, okay. We're at the point, like I mentioned, where we're going to want to refactor. We've got 15 minutes left today, and I don't have another Pomodoro that I can work on this because I have a meeting I have to go to. So the real question is, when do we want to do the refactor? And if I'm going to do the refactor, I want to write a test around this first to make sure it works. So normally I'd say this would be a great time to do that. Instead, I'm going to start a spike ahead into this code. But I think I want to do this. This is complicated enough that I think I want to do it on a different branch and get what we already have done released. So let me do a pull request here and get this merged in. And then this is going to be a work in progress pull request because we're not actually going to finish what I wanted to finish today. Compare in PR. It's a pretty minor change here. UUID, file names, and links. And I think this is referencing, oh, we could reference this, I guess. Where is it? Make markdown note generation idempotent. Fixes that. Create PR. All right, there's not really anything that this does because there's no merge or anything there. So now we're going to go to git checkout master. There's no tests or anything to run. Git checkout master. What? I already made the change. Git diff SQLite md. Yes. You should be able to merge those changes onto master. Git fetch. Whatever. Git stash. Git checkout master. Git remote prune origin. And git checkout another branch. This is going to be cross links. We'll call it relative cross links. And then git stash pop. Boom. Okay, git add SQLite to MD. All right. Check that in. Let's go through and get started. So we need to find all instances of title crosslinks in the file. Man, this is like a whiteboard challenge of find all of these matching parentheses and match these things. Scan across here and then find another one and then find the closing ones. All right, so the way we're going to do this very naively of search for a double. Actually, I think I'm going to do this by using a regex and scanning every line. So we're going to use a regex, scan every line. There's the note text already. So we want to do note text dot Ruby string regex. There it is. That's what I wanted. Oh.
Hello. Hey, buddy.
That was my son coming to the door. All right, Ruby string here. And we're going to do, actually, Ruby. No, we're not going to be able to do a straight up. Oh, we could do a block. This would be cool. We could do like a find where it finds this and this is not the real syntax yet, and then dot each, except we'll write a regex to where it does a capture. I'm trying to remember how to do this in Ruby. So I think it's going to have to be this way, and then like something like star W something. Doop, doop. Whoops, I did it in the wrong order there. It would be doop, doop. Oh, actually, you don't need them for that then apparently. Okay, and then slash. Right, and then that'll give you a result. And then for each result, how will that work? No, we need to do a replace of that entire thing. So we need to find lines where that matches, and then do a replace. Substring would be the way to do this. Sub pattern replacement. There we go. Returns a copy of str with the first occurrence of pattern replaced by the second argument. So we can do this as a sub bang, and it'll do it in place if we choose to modify the data on the fly. So there's an example of our regular expression. So I'm going to open Rubular, which is this great little tool for. So what I want to do is, this is a string without a link. This is a string with a normal. Markdown link. This is a string with a crosslink. Yippers. All right, and so then let me go grab my regular expression, see if my total wild guess here was right. I'm sure it's not, but put it in there. It is not star W, it is any digit, any number of times. Everything enclosed, maybe? And I want to do it on that's odd. It's not what I expected. Oh, because I'm doing the. Here we go. That's starting to get in the right place. And everything enclosed would be that. Forward slashes, yes, must be escaped. There we go. So for some reason it doesn't like those as. I'm not sure how to do. Oh, I've got it. Now it's doing. Okay, so I want to do dot star. There we go. And haha! So all I missed was, instead of star W, it was dot star. It's not bad for doing it from memory. Okay, so that should find each one of our things. And I wonder, you should be able to turn this method into a block way of doing it, where the block is the second. Here we are. Sub pattern match block which gives you a new string. And then I want to see it done. In the block form, here we go. In the block form, the current match string is passed in as a parameter in variables such as blah, 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 blah. The value returned by the block will be substituted for the match. Fantastic. This is going to be really slick, actually. So what we'll do is this will be sub bang. Is that what we decided? Yeah. So sub bang, we're going to make the change in place. And each do match. So this will iterate over every match in the file. I wonder what happens if there are multiple substrings that match. Anyway, we don't have to worry about that right now. So then the next thing we'll want to do is extract the title from the crosslink. So there'll be a $1. Actually, that is very interesting to me of how this is going to work with multiple. This is exactly why I want unit tests around this. So we're going to do extract the title from the crosslinks. So that'll be $1. We'll have the title. So I'm just going to call it that. Note title equals $1. And then we want to query the database for the unique identifier. We know how to do that. That is this right here. Are we inside a query? Oh, fascinating. Okay. Yeah, this is the point where things get weird. So we would like to query the database again. So this step is going to have to come after. Yeah, so this whole method, like this whole file, is going to have to be reformatted. Because what we were doing was you're opening a connection to the database, grabbing each file and modifying the file on the fly as you're doing it. So it's possible that inside of a DB execute, I could open another connection to the database and query for something different. But even if it were possible, it would be terrible and should not be done. So I need to rethink this whole structure of how we're doing it, and kind of move this to an actual, probably class-oriented architecture here that gives us some methods and has some data that we store and then eventually writes out the files that we store locally. Okay, so that's probably as far as we're going to get today. With that kind of being a blocker, that's a pretty big thing that we're going to have to work through. Pretty big change to this file, and I'm going to want to get a set of unit tests written around the file before we make all those big changes. So let me go ahead and kill this SQL query that I was about to embed in the middle of another SQL query, and let's leave ourselves some notes for next time. Leave ourselves a little gift for the future. So git add SQLite, starting to spike into solution. All right. So what I'm going to do now is push up this branch to the remote. I'm going to open a work in progress pull request. Make crosslinks into relative URLs. And we can link to these two things are done. We need a new column. Done. Done column. Boom. And then we were working on translate Bear crosslinks into HTML links. Okay, there we go. So I want to convert this to an issue, I think. Convert to issue. And then see this for more detail. All right, I'm gonna those up. And yeah, quick hold it over for a second. All right, we're wrapping up here. See this for more detail, create PR. All right, so notes that we want to leave for ourselves. We now need to refactor this method significantly, or this file. We are creating each of the files in a loop inside of a database query. We need to execute another query in the process of creating the files appropriately. All right, we need a set of unit tests around this file that we can ensure we don't break things as we refactor. Okay. So we have the comments in our file now that'll actually make it, or the comments in our code here of like, we know how to solve this problem of making these crosslinks into relative URLs. However, we're gonna have to do some pretty severe refactoring of this code in order to make it run appropriately, but I've been wanting to write tests for this and refactor this code for a little while, so it's not the worst thing in the world. But that's where we will pick things up next time. And I'm gonna go over here and you know what I didn't do is I didn't make this a work in progress, so let's go ahead and convert that to a draft. And I'll mention it over here. Oh, there it is already. Let me delete that. Boom. Mentioned in this issue. Okay, so that was fun. Thanks for tuning in for Coding with Jess today. We did some good work on my personal writing system. So just kind of like to recap what we talked about. We talked about how you decide what to work on when you're working on a project by starting with why are you working on the project. Even a good thing to remind yourself on a day-to-day basis why I'm actually building the thing that I'm building. We broke down some of the attributes that we want that system to have that we're building. We talked about some of the flaws that are in the system, and we even exercised the system, went through the usage process, measured how long it took, wrote down some of the pain points in using the system, kind of did a user test with ourselves, and then we documented those changes and picked one to work on. And so we worked on fixing on several of them today. Actually really excited about where we got to. The cross-linking thing is definitely annoying that we can't yet do that, but the fact that I now have stable URLs that also allow me to run that BearApp script and have it only generate meaningful changes to those markdown files is going to be really helpful. So thanks for tuning in. It was a lot of fun. I'll be doing this again probably next Thursday at 11 a.m. So thanks for hanging out for Coding with Jess, and we'll see you next time.